everyone. My name is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. So, I am trying to make more content that is focused on issues specific to DOMs and TOPs, as I promised I was going to do this year. The other week, during my Friday night live stream, I had someone ask me how they might try to overcome their performance anxiety, and I thought this was a great question. And with that in mind, for today's video, I want to talk about ways that you can start to understand and work through your performance anxiety. While this advice will be focused on what DOMs and TOPs experience while playing in the public BDSM scene, most of it will actually apply to anyone experiencing performance anxiety, including switches, masochists, bottoms, and even vanilla folk as well. So everyone is included in this conversation. First things first though, I want to recognize how vulnerable it can be to even acknowledge that what you are dealing with is performance anxiety. Especially as a D-type in the kink community, there is often an unstated expectation that to be a good dom or a good top, heavy air quotes on both of those, you have to be perfectly confident and totally self-assured. So, to admit that you have nerves going into a scene or anxiety about playing in public is a double whammy of doubt. Maybe even more so than it would be, since it is a problem that often gets ignored or minimized. If it does come up at all, it is typically framed as an issue only insecure newbies have to deal with, which can worsen the problem. The reality is, though, behind closed doors and among the safety of friends, a lot of D-types will admit that they experience performance anxiety, or at least they did at some point. But rarely does the conversation after that go deeper than, I don't know, I just kept playing and it went away somehow, which is less than helpful for someone who might be so nervous that they cannot even get to the playing at all stage. So no matter where you are at on your dealing with performance anxiety journey, it's okay. It is hard to deal with, but there are tools you can use to begin to ease it. Before you can make full use of those tools, you need to identify what the source of your performance anxiety is. When you stop and think about it, in your mind's eye, what do you see happening? What goes wrong? What idea is behind the fear? Essentially, begin by asking yourself, what is this anxiety trying to protect me from or warn me about? This might not be a simple question to ask. For many people, we were raised to see bad emotions as enemies to be conquered and snuffed out. Like with shame and guilt, we need to stuff them away or beat them down so they can't hurt us. But that technique doesn't really work for long, though, does it? It either comes up another way or slowly grows and grows and grows to such a huge size that it swallows us whole. Instead of trying to fight and conquer emotions, if that hasn't worked for you, try to work with your feelings. This doesn't mean doing whatever impulsive thing they tell you to do in that moment, but hear them out. What is causing this anxiety to come up? You might be picturing yourself in the middle of a scene and your partner sighing with boredom as they imagine a previous better partner. You might imagine all of the eyes of the older, more experienced people at the party, silently judging you from afar. If kink is a sexual thing for you, you might worry about being able to get hard or wet the way you need to. Or maybe you're concerned you'll miss a safe word or flub a flogger stroke and accidentally hurt your partner. It could be one really big thing or several small things that build on each other to make us think, oh, no, we can't do that. What if all of this goes wrong? And 9 times out of 10, what our performance anxiety is telling us is to not risk doing that thing, to run, to hide, to not go to the party, to not make the FetLife account, to not try that new kink we're so curious about, to not talk to our partners about it. And before I talk about what to do to counter those fearful urges, I need to recognize that there are some cases where your performance anxiety might be a little correct. If you have never held a flogger or a paddle before or seen anyone use one, and you have anxiety you might hurt your partner and be judged for it, I would say that is justifiable anxiety. Your brain is trying to keep you from not only physically hurting your partner, but also damaging your reputation and your relationship. And that could very well happen based on your lack of experience and knowledge. Being able to identify those times where the anxiety is justified is just as important as validating when it is not and working through it. So stop here and ask yourself, does this anxiety make sense based on legitimate fear that I could harm myself or someone else if I do this thing? Be that mentally, emotionally, or physically. And there is a big caveat here, by the way, that comes with the complexities of sadomasochism. You need to be able to separate between actual harm being done and the superficial trappings of pain being experienced. In kink, our partners may scream, cry, beg for mercy, and go home with bruises. They might seem like they are in distress while actually loving every moment of what's happening. This does not mean that harm was done. For harm to occur, we must leave behind unwanted damage, either mental or physical or emotional. A bottom screaming their lungs out just as they said they wanted to is not that. So we must learn to stop judging how things are going based on our preconceived notions of what pleasure is supposed to look like and lean into trusting our partners and listening to what they tell us their experience is. The fear of not being able to tolerate our partner's desired distress can also lead us to another kind of performance anxiety. What if we start doing exactly what we planned on and I ruin their good time because I can't tell when they're enjoying it or hating it, and I end up calling the scene too early by accident? But let's say for a moment that your performance anxiety is, to some degree, justified based on the facts. In almost all cases, this is because of a lack of knowledge and/or experience. The good news is that this is super fixable. Depending on the source of your performance anxiety, there are likely some skills you can learn about or brush up on. This can include topics like negotiating, asking for consent, or using a particular toy. You might want to know what to do if a safe word is called, or how to check in without ruining the mood. Maybe your problem is that you don't know how to role play, or you aren't sure if you can come off as a convincing dominant, and you're terrible at dirty talk. Maybe you're nervous about doing a scene because you aren't sure what a scene is supposed to look like. Luckily, a few solutions work for most of these issues. You can practice using a toy on yourself or using a makeshift dummy like a big pillow. You can check out podcasts, books, digital courses, YouTube videos, or virtual classes on topics you want to know about. You can attend in-person discussion groups, support groups, or practice jams. Many local communities also have taster parties or newbie nights that are great for learning by example and watching others. You may find that just doing a few of these simple things and taking a few weeks to practice the basics gives you the grounding you need to find your confidence, and the performance anxiety after that just melts away because you know what you're doing now. But sometimes the performance anxiety is a little more durable than that. Sometimes we're grappling with anxiety that is not in line with what we know is reality, but we're having an issue shaking it off regardless. So what do we do when our anxiety for performance isn't justified? Beyond just troubleshooting the source, what else can we do? To put it frankly, we need to run headlong into whatever the anxiety is telling us not to do. If the anxiety is saying, don't go to the party, or don't play with that person, you aren't good enough to be seen with them in public, we take the opportunity and we go to that party. We have that scene. We pick up that toy out of the toy box for the first time. We ask for that thing we're a little scared to ask for. And we keep doing those things over and over and over again. Essentially, what we are doing is we are trying to desensitize the anxiety response by showing it and ourselves that we don't need to be afraid. The big scary thing didn't end up happening, so we can relax about it. And by doing it over and over again and being consciously aware, hey, this worked out, everything was fine. We can not only gain confidence in ourselves, but we can also gain trust in ourselves that we can do scary things and we can handle it. I know, though, that this is all easier said than done, and not everyone is ready to go that far right away. So there are some other ways to baby step into this without going fully opposite to the emotional urge, and some other things you can do to lessen your performance anxiety will also help. One of the big things we talked about already is lessening anxiety through education and practice. That is a big one. Drill those skills, practice at home, and you will have less to worry about when the day comes of actually doing a scene. Creating realistic expectations is also very important. Not every scene has to be a big production, so start small and build up. Don't promise the moon, just a fun time. Going to classes and dungeons can be a great way to get a sense of what real kink looks like. You might be surprised at how boring and plain the average scene looks like from the outside. It's also a good idea to avoid situations and places that can spike your anxiety and make it worse. So avoid doing anxiety-provoking activities in unfamiliar environments or where you are uncomfortable. This includes not just emotional discomfort, but physical discomfort too. If you are freezing cold with aching feet from wearing brand new 5-inch heels, you probably are not going to be on your A game for coping with your emotions. Think warm, comfortable, familiar. That is what you should aim for. This is one of the many reasons why I recommend scoping out a play space a couple of times before you actually play in it. Meet people, talk to DMs, get a sense of the vibe and the music first before you commit to doing anything there. And if it's not right for you, you can always try a different venue or maybe a different party at the same venue and find the place that works for you. And finally, once you're in the space that you have deemed is the right one for exploring your anxiety-inducing desires, make sure your body language matches the feeling you want to have. Act confident is vague and not very helpful, but that is essentially what you are trying to do. And you can do that by breathing deeply and slowly, keeping your head and eyes up, taking in all of your surroundings without being preoccupied by them. As you breathe, remind yourself that you're in a safe, comfortable, familiar space and that you're going to have a great time. Take as long as you need to get settled. If you're playing in public, it can also be advantageous to play early in the night before there's a crowd and while people are still kind of milling around, or at the very end of the night when people are more likely to be preoccupied by aftercare and sleepily trying to get out the door. Either one works. It kind of depends on the individual play space and how your local community typically operates. So your mileage will vary on that one. So now that we know the basics of what to do, let's talk about some examples because I think this is going to be very elucidating for a lot of people. And first, let's go through the worst case scenario for performance anxiety. Strap in for this one. So let's say that maybe you're a new dom who's seen some BDSM online before, but you've never so much as gone shopping for a toy, much less used one. The very idea of having someone in front of you begging for a spanking makes you both really excited and terribly nervous. How are they going to react? Will you be any good at it? Will you hurt them? Then, out of the blue, a seemingly perfect opportunity falls into your lap. A girl you've been on a couple of dates with says she wants to go to a new sex club in town, and she asks if you're gonna go with her. Your eyes bulge out of their sockets at the very thought, and you speedily reply yes before even looking up the place. But as the night of this date approaches, the anxiety in you builds and builds. What will it be like? What should you wear? Will people know who you are? Will they know that you're new? Will you see a coworker there? Will she want to see you again after this if you mess up? Are you going to mess up? What if she finds someone better at the club? On and on and on it goes. You try to shove those thoughts out of your head, and when you arrive at the club together, you rush over to grab a strong drink before even glancing around. Liquid courage, right? Maybe not so much. You find yourself watching all the other patrons, nervously wondering if they're judging you or can tell it's your first time there. By the time your date points out a free spanking horse, you're crawling out of your skin with nerves, but with the booze in your system, you decide to give it a go. You spend more time looking out for what other people are thinking than how your date is feeling, and you aren't sure how to read if she's actually having a good time or not. Your aim isn't the best, and you think you're hitting hard enough, but the club lights make it hard to tell what's really going on. After a few lackluster minutes, she hops off the bench suddenly and says, okay, I think I'm done with that. I think I'm gonna go home. Yikes! This'll be your first and last time ever coming here. You knew all along even trying cake was gonna be a terrible idea, didn't you? So, with that example, hopefully we can see fairly easily what led to the disaster here, because it wasn't just the anxiety by itself. It was letting the anxiety be in the driver's seat the entire time without stopping to think about what was going on. Instead of pausing to get more knowledge and experience, we just kept leaping right off the deep end in the worst way possible. Instead of building up a good communication pattern, we tried to let booze do the talking. Instead of waiting until we were in a comfortable environment, we blindly went into a new scenario and tried to make it work. Instead of staying in tune with our partner, we let the fear of normalcy and judgment take us out of the experience. Every turn made the next turn even worse until it spiraled out of control. Instead, we could have handled it a little bit more like this. So, for our second example, let's say that you are the same new dom who has never held a toy before and gets super nervous at the very idea of even tapping someone's bottom. And just like before, you somehow get very lucky and get an invite to check out a new sex club in town. But this time, instead of running full steam ahead, you take a step back and say, "Thank you so much for the invite. That sounds really exciting. I don't think I'm ready to go this week, but maybe let's go next time they have a party and talk some more about it." And you do some research on the venue, and you check out what other events they offer, and you see all their photos online of what the venue actually looks like. It turns out they actually have a monthly newbie mixer night, the very first weekend of the month. So that gives you a couple of weeks to do some research. You spend some more time scoping out the event, looking at who goes to it on FetLife maybe, looking at reviews on Google possibly. You talk to your date about what she might be interested in doing, and you do research together online, maybe listening to a podcast about the subject while driving to dinner, or you share articles you find interesting during the week. Then when the day comes, you set your expectations appropriately. No play, no more than 1 to 2 drinks. You're there to meet people and have fun watching, and maybe take that fun home with you once the party's over. You have a surprisingly good time playing some board games and doing karaoke. It's a little weird at first to see so many naked people and hear spanking in the background constantly, but by the end of the night, it starts to feel a little more normal, almost. You both have such a good time that you go back to a few more parties and you start to make some friends. You talk to some other D-types you meet with more experience, and they give you some great pointers on what to do during a scene. By watching them play too, you get a better sense of what happens and how to do it properly. They even share some of their missteps and mistakes in a humorous way so you don't repeat them. After doing some practice at home on a body pillow and finally some shorter mini scenes at home, you are finally ready to play at the next event. After a fun evening of watching your friends play around, you snag a bench in the quiet section towards the back, as most people are already snuggled up in their own world or are getting ready to leave. Using the positive energy from the rest of the night to give yourself a little bit of a boost, you finally have a short but pretty fun scene. And you don't worry too much about it. There's always next time, and now you feel even more confident the next time you have the opportunity to play for longer, and you're both really looking forward to it. As you can see, there is a world of difference between those two examples. In one, our anxiety both propelled us forward into scenarios we were not ready for and cut us off from future better experiences. In this latter example, we were able to take our time, build a sense of mastery through education and practice, and gain confidence through familiarity with the environment and getting direct support from people in the local community. But sometimes, even that isn't enough. Right now, you might be thinking to yourself, "Gee, Evie, if only it was that easy. I've been patient, I've taken months to read about everything and practice all my skills at home on myself. I've even gone out to the local Munchin Dungeon a couple of times. I've seen other people play, but I still cannot shake this feeling of dread I have when I think about doing something like everyone else does that I know is going to be fine, but for me, I just think it's going to be a disaster." And I get it. That really, really sucks. In my opinion, if you've worked on those other core things like building a sense of mastery, being in a familiar environment, working to make your body language work with you and not against you, all that stuff, there is probably something else going on in the background. And I would wager a lot of the time that something is fear of not being normal and being judged for it. This fear is what underlies a pretty good portion of performance anxiety, especially sexual anxiety about our bodies. Will we compare favorably to past lovers? Will we be as capable, flexible, or as strong as we should be? Will we look good enough, last long enough? Are we still young enough? All of these questions are often what people try to solve through things like sex therapy and self-help books. People go in like, hey doc, how can you make me last longer? Or, what can I do to make myself more attractive to my husband? Which, outside of legitimate medical concerns like hormone issues, rarely does focusing on that solve the actual problem. And I could make a whole other video just discussing how people get trapped in loops of videos and self-help guides and books promising to finally give them sexual confidence by unlocking the secret to looking, sounding, or tasting better. But for now, I just want to say that, in my opinion, these are all misdirections on the road to curing performance anxiety. These are all band-aids over a much larger wound. It's doubtful that they will solve the issue permanently if that is where you put your energy, because the issue is so rarely about how easily or often you climax or how you sound in bed. The issue is letting the desire to be normal dictate your sexual experiences, and that includes in the kink community, by the way. As Dr. Marty Klein explains in his book, Sexual Intelligence, quote, "So, if like so many other people, you've been pursuing the wrong thing, normal sex, you need a new way to think about sex. Although most people assume it's illogical to have a performance orientation, how many times per week, how many minutes before orgasm, that's only one way to look at sex. And it's exactly the wrong way. I want to rescue you from that, not by persuading you that you're sexually normal, but by persuading you to not care." While Dr. Klein's work is about vanilla sex, I believe this is just as applicable to both non-sexual and sexual kink as well. Even in the world of the taboo, we still fixate on what is normal, what is desirable, what other people are doing or not doing. We just get the ideas of what normal is for us from a slightly different place. If you think this could be the source of your problems, I highly recommend picking up Dr. Klein's book because it is what he spends the majority of the next 190-ish pages breaking down. But essentially, relief from this flavor of performance or normality anxiety comes down to a few key factors. Letting go of the desire to achieve normalcy, because actually being sexually diverse is what is normal for humans, cultivating self-knowledge and self-acceptance, and practicing deep communication with ourselves and with our partners. This means taking the time to learn about ourselves, how our bodies work, and what we genuinely desire, letting go of expectations that are based on what other people do or what we assume others are thinking about us, and being transparent about our needs and wants based on criteria like how we want to feel rather than how we want to perform or be perceived. If your goal is to feel loved and cherished, and the way you know you feel that is by being tied up and treated like a pony, who cares if that is normal or not, you know? In other words, authenticity will set you free. Being honest about what you want and focusing on how you want to feel instead of how other people see you will give you way better results than any top 10 tips for making her squirt like Old Faithful video ever could, okay? So that is essentially how you can cope with performance anxiety. Thank you all so much for watching this. I would love to know your thoughts about this one in a comment down below. If you experienced performance anxiety or you did at some point, let me know how you got through it in a comment down below, or if this video was helpful for you or not. This is obviously not a comprehensive overview of everything about dealing with anxiety and kink. I am not a therapist or a doctor. I am standing on the shoulders of giants, as they say with this video, in terms of things that I've gone through and things that I've learned, but it is a very big big thing, and working through anxiety can take a very long time. You just have to be patient with yourself, and if you can't do that, you're going to really struggle to actually make a dent in that problem. But with that being said, that's going to be everything for now. If you did enjoy this and already, please do subscribe because I make videos twice a week about all different kink and BDSM related topics. And finally, if you want to support what I do, the best you can do this with Patreon. Link to that will be down below. If you do already support me there, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you all next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.